What's up, everybody? I'm gonna do a short video. That's not a short, if you know what I'm saying. It's a video. Anyway, someone comments made a point that I was trying to make, meaning I wanted to get to making in this channel. So I'm gonna do it now about abandoned houses or vacant properties. I can't do it in 15 seconds. It's a little bit more of a point, but I'll probably make this like a minute or two. Anyway, the idea is that every city, including where I live here in this beach town in Mexico, every city you live in, every town you could live in the world, has vacant or abandoned properties, both residential and commercial. What does that mean? Why is that important? Well, here's why. So, a government, i.e., the city council, in the case of a city, or town council in the case of a town, the municipal management, whatever you want to say, the local government of a place has the ability to pass rules and regulations and guidelines in that area. So if they saw the abandoned properties or unused properties as a bad thing, they could pass a law saying if you own a house or a business that has been vacant for over 5 years, let's just make it a really high limit, has been unused, sitting there vacant, weeds growing all over the place, your metal gates, your bars on the windows, all that's getting rusted out, property's going into the earth. It's getting absorbed back into the earth. If that's the case, it's a blight on our city. It makes our city less efficient, meaning we have these extra blocks we have to go down to get to the store because the store could just be right there, but you own that property and you refuse to let it be used by another person who would otherwise use it. They'd make it into a building or a store or, a building for people to live in, a residence. Even if it's like a squatter situation where it's an old place, they don't even fix it up, and you just let someone go in there, you let 10 homeless people huddle up inside. As long as they're not creating a public health issue in terms of like dangerous lighting fires in a can in the building or whatever. If there's basically normal conduct happening in that location, that's something the government could allow. Why won't this happen? To wrap it up, to just keep this short, it's very simple. Governments around the world, especially in America though, they collect their money that they live off of as a government from the people in form of property taxes. And it's not so much that there's taxes being collected from those abandoned properties, it's that because the supply of housing and properties is artificially held down because of all the abandoned properties, vacant properties, governments are artificially keeping scarcity on properties up, meaning the price is staying higher than it would stay. That's going to my point in my short that I made. If there's less people, meaning all the baby boomers are passing away in the next 10 to 20 years, they're starting to pass away at a greater rate because they're in their 70s or 80s. They're definitely moving out of their homes and going into retirement homes and elderly care facilities and all that. So if that's the case, there'll be less demand, meaning less people want to go into the houses that are already there, and they're still building new properties, new houses, new apartment buildings, whatever, and everybody pretty much wants to go into the new ones. So the property values of these old properties that are abandoned or need help or need to be restored, you have the for sale signs. You see for sale signs all over the place on all these houses. Call the number, text them. I guarantee you don't get a reply on most of them because the people have the signs up. They forgot the signs are up. They're not even responding. They got a new phone number. These are properties that someone owned and their kids inherited, and they're like, yeah, we have a house in such and such town, but no one ever goes there. We go there every couple of years just to make sure that there's no squatters in there or whatever. So you have a property that you're just basically, I got dibs on this, but I'm never going to use it. It's an asshole move even with a chair. Pardon my French. If you have a chair, you say, I'm sitting here, and then you never sit down. No one can sit here. I'm sitting here. And then you walk around the party all night and you never sit down. That's my chair. You can't sit there. That's what you're doing when you own an abandoned property and you're not putting it to use. I don't need it, but I'm going to own it and prevent other people from using it. I'm not even going to live in that town. I'm going to have this and live in another part of the world, and I'll have a property in this place that I never go to. Governments could make that illegal, thereby forcing every property has to be used. If it's not being used, it's got to be on the market for sale. If it's not getting a bid, no one's coming to buy it, you have to lower the price. You can't put the property for sale for 10 times what it's really worth. An appraiser comes in and says, this is a price that if you list this property for today, it'll sell within 90 days. That could be a law. that governments say, what will that do? It'll drastically drive down the cost of housing because there'll be more supply of housing. All the owners will say, I got to sell this house. I got to go in, I got to paint it, try to get the most I can get for it because I can't leave it empty anymore. It's against the law to leave it empty. If that were the case, all these properties around the world would be rushing onto the market, thereby driving the price of housing down to half or a third of what it is now, thereby erasing all of the wealth of the donors that pay the politicians and all the people that are up in the higher echelons of society that are rubbing elbows with these politicians saying, don't pass a law like that. That's going to kill the value of my house. I paid $10 million for this house. I don't want it to be worth $500,000. You can't let that many houses come onto the market at once. So that's the conspiracy, I guess you want to say, or whatever, the real reason why your house is so expensive, your rent is so expensive, and why I'm homeless in a city that has dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of abandoned properties. All the government would have to do is give me a piece of paper that says I'm allowed to go into one of these houses, pick the one that you think is the most destroyed, and I have to agree that I will not damage it, I will not set fires, I will not create illegal, drug dealing houses or anything like that. The government could give me a bucket of paint and a paintbrush, a roller, and a hammer and some nails, and I could fix up a property and then be half owners with the government after 5 years when it's ready to be sold and it's beautiful. They could make those deals with homeless people. Now you pass a test. You walk into town hall, so you can present yourself, you have a plan, you're coherent, you're not drooling and covered in piss or whatever. That kind of thing could happen. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Try to keep it short, relatively short, but that's the whole thing. Why you see all these empty vacant properties in your town and your city, and you see all these homeless people, and you're trying to put two and two together. Well, if they made a law that would allow those people to go into those buildings, everyone's housing price would come down. That reduces the amount of money they're getting in property taxes, and that pisses off the wealthy donors saying, I elected you, and then you made a law that made my house be worth less. So the money I owe on my property and the home equity loan I might want to take out to give some money to my kids to go to college, now I can't do that because you passed a law that'll let these homeless people go into these abandoned houses. Everything in this system is set up to protect the already wealthy and to make it harder for incumbents, people that are low on the system, to get a leg up and get involved. They don't want competition for jobs. They don't want competition for housing. They want it to be scarce. It keeps prices artificially high for things you own, like housing and stocks, and it keeps prices artificially low for things like wages. When you're a business owner, you want to hire people. Well, there's not a lot of jobs, so you want to take this job. It only pays minimum wage. Okay, I'll do it. They like that. They like scarcity where it helps them, and they don't like scarcity where it would help you. So that's it, guys. There's a long one for you. Have a good day.